Lil Baby has become one of hip-hop's most sought-after rappers since the release of his debut album Harder Than Ever in May of 2018. The 25-year-old Atlanta, Georgia rapper has had many chart-topping successes, including Yes Indeed featuring Drake and Drip Too Hard featuring Gunna, which have made him not just a multi-million-dollar recording artist, but also a certified multi-platinum artist. In fact, Lil Baby has achieved platinum status more than 10 times since the beginning of his career, which is extremely astounding to say the least. But what makes Lil Baby's story even more incredible is that he was only 18 years old when he was sitting alone in his concrete cell in a Georgia state penitentiary. Are you curious how Lil Baby ended up in this situation? Then we've got you covered. Here's an inside look at Lil Baby's criminal history. Lil Baby's first arrest occurred when he was only 12 years old. While out with his friends, Lil Baby had the brilliant idea to break into and rob a house in his Atlanta area. As the crew reached the residence, police appeared from nowhere and apprehended them all nearly instantly. After a few minutes of interrogation, the police determined that Lil Baby and his companions intended to break into the house and arrested them for burglary. Because Lil Baby was only 12 years old at the time, he couldn't be booked into a county jail. Instead, he was taken to a local juvenile detention center, where he was held for only 10 days. Lil Baby remained associated with the streets once he was released, with the only difference being that he was less covert about it. Before his arrest, no one knew what he was up to save his pals. But after his arrest, everyone, including his mother, knew about his after-school activities. Despite being knee-deep in the streets, Lil Baby continued to attend school and claimed to be an incredibly intelligent student. He continuously passed all of his subjects and was on track to graduate from high school, but he was eventually expelled because he was suspended throughout his academic career. Lil Baby was planning on attending an alternative school after being kicked out, but opted to drop out after discovering he was too old for the alternative school. He was now living on the streets full-time. With all of his newfound free time, Lil Baby was arrested several times between the ages of 16 and 17. Because Lil Baby was still a teenager at the time, the facts of these charges appear to be sealed. However, he stated in a few interviews early in his career that the arrests were all for the same two reasons: drugs and guns. Lil Baby seemed to get away with almost no penalties every time he was arrested, but this obviously didn't last forever, as his next arrest irritated the judge, who sentenced Lil Baby to probation. Lil Baby stayed out of trouble for a brief time while on probation, but at the age of 18, he slipped up again and was sent back to jail for breaking his probation. Lil Baby was facing substantial prison time as a result of his probation breach, so he needed to hire a lawyer as quickly as possible. His first lawyer was able to cut him a deal in which he only had to serve 2 years in prison. But Lil Baby would not take no for an answer and eventually fired him in order to hire a new lawyer, who was able to land him an even better deal, in which he was told that he could attend a 6-month program instead of serving time in prison. Lil Baby accepted the offer and enrolled in the program a few days later. After enrolling at this program, Lil Baby quickly discovered that it was intended to be a year-long ordeal rather than the 6 months he had been informed. This irritated Lil Baby and made him feel duped, but he persisted in giving the program another opportunity. Then, just a few days later, he got into a fight with another program participant, which resulted in him being booted out of the program and sentenced to 2 years in prison. Lil Baby didn't have as many problems in prison as you might anticipate for an 18-year-old, since he had cousins who were doing life terms in the same prison he was in. In addition to having some family by his side, it's likely that his 2-year term was the shortest of all the inmates, making him grateful that he'll be able to leave it all, whereas other inmates may never see the light of day again. Lil Baby was freed from prison and returned to his mother's home in Atlanta on July 1st, 2016. When Lil Baby returned, he discovered that many of his neighborhood pals, including Marlo and Young Thug, had begun rapping and were creating quite a stir in the business. While this was all well and good, Lil Baby had no ambition to rap and intended to return to hustling in the streets, as he had done his entire life. When word of his plans spread, old buddies like P and Coach K from Quality Control, as well as Young Thug, pushed Lil Baby to start rapping instead of reverting to his old ways. Lil Baby began thinking about it soon after, but never got started. Until Young Thug paid for Baby's first studio session. Lil Baby's life was transformed forever by a single studio session with Young Thug. Lil Baby immediately proceeded to spend all of his time in the studio, producing song after song until he finally released his debut project, Perfect Timing, which included Lil Yachty, Gunna, and of course, Young Thug. This project generated a lot of buzz for Lil Baby, not only because of the amazing music, but also because it revealed that he was Quality Control's newest talent. Lil Baby capitalized on all of this sudden attention by releasing his debut album, Harder Than Ever, shortly after. Two of the album's singles, My Dog and Freestyle, went viral online, propelling Lil Baby to mainstream prominence. This not only allowed him to create fantastic hits with his friends at Quality Control, but also allowed him to collaborate with other top-tier musicians such as Drake. In reality, Drake and Lil Baby's single, Yes Indeed, is currently 3 times platinum and reached at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 rankings. It's also very great that Gunna, who was featured on Lil Baby's debut release, began to acquire mainstream fame around the same time as Lil Baby. The two subsequently went on to release an album called Drip Harder together, with the lead track Drip Too Hard reaching number 4 on the Billboard charts and becoming platinum 5 times. Then, on February 7, 2019, around 6 p.m., Lil Baby was driving about in his orange Corvette when a Georgia state trooper noticed him failing to signal when changing lanes. Lil Baby then proceeded to speed up and pass other vehicles recklessly, as a large number of pedestrians were walking around. When a state trooper approached Lil Baby's Corvette to pull him over, Baby recognized what was going on and proceeded to accelerate and change lanes in an attempt to avoid getting pulled over. That didn't end well since they pulled Baby over and detained him for failing to signal when changing lanes, reckless driving, and attempting to evade or elude police. Baby was then placed in the back of the police cruiser and booked into the Fulton County Jail. Lil Baby was released later that night after posting bail for an undisclosed sum of money. Lil Baby was arrested by police in Paris's 8th arrondissement on a narcotics accusation on July 7, 2021, after visiting Paris Fashion Week events with basketball player James Harden. Harden was apprehended but not held, and both men were soon released. So there you have it, Lil Baby's full criminal history. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to see more videos like this. Please use the notification bell to get notified anytime we upload. And finally, please leave a comment if you have any suggestions for somebody we should do a criminal history video about next. See you.